Commissioner Wong.
Here.
Commissioner Beckwith.
Here.
Commissioner Blake is absent. Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers is absent. President Guzman.
Here.
There was an executive session held immediately prior to this meeting to discuss personnel.
Just real quick, I just want to say that Commissioner Blake and Commissioner Roderick is sick this evening, so if you can maybe say a prayer tonight for them to feel what we're doing, I appreciate it. First, I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. I'm going to take motion number 1 first, that way we can get you guys rolling. I'm going to ask for a motion to hire Arthur Benazzi full-time as Class C patrolman with the Elizabeth Township Police Department with a 1-year probationary period. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Wong.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith.
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
President Guzman.
Yes. Thank you, Knight. You can administer the oath.
After me. I, Arthur Benazzi,
I, Arthur Bernazzi,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the ordinances of Elizabeth Township,
the ordinances of Elizabeth Township,
obey all orders
obey all orders
issued by my superior officers,
issued by my superior officer,
and all rules and regulations
and all rules and regulations
pertaining to and governing
pertaining to and governing
the police department,
the police department,
and that, as a police officer,
and that, as a police officer,
I will well and faithfully
I will well and faithfully
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties of my office
all the duties of my office
according to the best of my knowledge
according to the best of my knowledge
and ability.
and ability.
Congratulations. Thank you. Hey, we're going to go on to our department reports. Code enforcement.
The only thing outside of my written report is that citations are continuing daily for Dollar General. As of today, they've received 29 citations.
29 citations. Engineer.
Okay, thank you. I submitted a written report. Under the sanitary, I just want to note there were 2 health department letters that were sent, one from the chapter 94, one from the Rock Run investigation. We have one of those satisfied. Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. We will continue to work on the Rock Run investigation. The Greenwald Storm Sewer Project, we did last meeting, we did provide a report, and we're on track for the motion of the meeting, and the contract is currently being circulated. The Circle Drive Storm Sewer Project, we put together a preliminary alignment, sent it over to affected property owner, and we'll be working through that. Fallen Timber is on the agenda tonight, and Mansfield is going to be submitted for permits this week.
Thank you. Police department.
For the month of May, there were 888 offense logs by Allegheny County 911 Fire Department. There were 9 adult arrests, 6 juvenile arrests, for a total of 15. Officers conducted 71 traffic stops and issued 32 traffic citations. During the month, officers investigated 9 motor vehicle crashes, 4 reportable, 5 non-reportable, with 1 injury because of the crashes. The department also participated in Southfield DUI road patrol on May 25th. Our department participated in 2019 Buckwalk PA mobilization seatbelt enforcement between May 13th and June 2nd.
Thank you. Public Works.
This is pretty much from the last storm damage, and that's hopefully done by now. That 2 parks are done. We got just waiting for the mulch for that one out there in Stoneville. I'm running by those. Otherwise, just doing a lot of small maintenance, trying to catch up on things. This is hard to keep up on things when our tractor keeps on breaking down with that cover on it. But, I don't know what it is. It's just too many computers on it. It goes out every day and comes back every day. There's some kind of issue with it. Case called me today, that, record came in. Didn't get it yet, but it came in.
Thank you. Solicitor,
I have nothing on my items in executive, that we discussed in executive session.
and sanitary, Veolia?
Thank
you. All right, we're gonna take the presentation by Spirit Chapel. If someone would be so kind as to hit the lights on the left.
you very much. My name is Mark Rice. I am a longtime resident. I graduated VF High School, and I am currently the pastor of Spirit Chapel. And I'm here to talk about a project that some of you may be aware of, some of you may not. It's a property that the Township owns on Chapel Drive. I believe its official address now is 298 Chapel Drive. In case you haven't had a chance to catch up on all this, I went online and downloaded all the minutes that mentioned Spirit Chapel, Chapel Drive up to, I think, 2012. When I read through them all, it's about 200 pages of scintillating reading to kind of catch up where we are. And by the way, just a comment, I don't know who does the minutes, but you guys rock. There's some stuff that put in those minutes that made them interesting and kept them from being too dry. But let me kind of talk real quick about the background of the property. That's a shot of the property as it stands today. Originally, it was a church. That's actually how that road, Chapel Drive, gets its name. There used to be a church called Chapel Fellowship there. And it was there from 1979 to 2008 in various forms. It was purchased from the last version of that church, which was called Higher Ground Full Gospel Church. That little sign you see, for those of you who can see that, that's actually done by DeCarlos and Frosty Cone. It's still there, pointing the way kind of vaguely this way. But it closed in 2008, and the Township purchased the property in 2009. The purchase price was $265,000, and the reason for buying it originally was to turn it into a library. And that was the original plan, according to the minutes. But unfortunately, libraries had no grant money available for them. So there was no way to move forward unless we had all the money in the township ourselves. And so they had to kind of start thinking new things besides the library. So they went for new grants, and fortunately they found some in the Parks and Recreation Department. And so they were able to kind of retarget. So instead of doing a library, decided to do a recreation center instead. So it took a long time, actually a couple of years to get the grants, but eventually two major grants were awarded, actually two different parts, 3 grants. Allegheny County had a SIFT program that brought in $200,000. The Pennsylvania DCNR project, which is Pennsylvania's Parks and Rec system, brought in grants of $450,000. I'm not exactly sure because the minutes don't detail them all, but it looks like the township put in $100,000 plus of their own. So in other words, about $750,000 to purchase and renovate the property and turn it into a rec center that the township could use. So we've had now 10 years, and we have spent all of that money, $750,000. What do we have? We have an empty building. When we bought the property, it was appraised at $260,000, which is what we purchased it for. Today, Allegheny County appraises it at $203,000. So we've actually spent 10 years and $750,000 to reduce the value of the property. If you look at it, it looks pretty good from the outside, kind of like a Hollywood set though. Once you get inside, you'll see there was absolutely nothing in there. It is bare bones. That's a current shot. You can see the wire sticking up. That other shot you see there, that's the plumbing. That's just holes in the ground. That's all there is. I don't know if you can tell from this shot, but we have metal studs there, and we have no interior wall at all. So we have an exterior wall, which is just the shell. You literally can look out and see daylight in places, and that's kind of where it is. I've seen some different remarks that were in the paper and in the different minutes about how we could just upgrade the plumbing or something. There is no plumbing to upgrade. There is nothing there at all. The problem is, of course, when it sits vacant like that, a lot of things happen to it. You can see this broken side here. We've had all kind of vandalism take place in the building. Now there's cameras installed there to try to stop that. I don't know if anybody's up at that property. A bunch of us, I guess, dog owners, kind of use it to walk our dogs a little bit. I meet a lot of people up there when I'm there with mine. But apparently other people are using it for other things. And I go by in the evening sometimes with a garbage bag and some pickup clips because I don't want to touch things with my hands and clean up a little bit. Lately, I've noticed I've been picking up a lot of empty beer cans, beer cases, and condom wrappers and other things that come out of condom wrappers. So it's kind of being used for a lot of things today. At night, apparently, those cameras don't see very far, apparently. It's being used for those things as well. But if you keep looking, you also will see that we had once upon a time installed an HVAC system. That's it on the left. It's totally vandalized. Talked to the guy who put it in. He said it's useless now. It would have to be replaced entirely. That ductwork you see is just lying there was taken down. Part of the problem was the problems were mold related. They started tearing things out until they could finally get to the mold, which is why we finally ended up with a property that is only worth, according to Allegheny County, $203,000. So after a decade of trying and spending $750,000, we've only managed to make the property less valuable than it was when we bought it. Now, I don't know about you, but when I start reading through that, I start wondering what's going on, because it seems probably most people sitting here thinking, man, give me $750,000 in 10 years. I bet you I'd have something there by now. And that's probably a fair question, because it almost seems odd. It's not like things weren't tried. There's been study after study done there. There's been all kinds of different ideas thrown around. Once it was going to be ball fields, another time it was going to be a hockey rink, soccer fields, even just a recreation thing. At 3 different times, in fact, over the course of the past 10 years, the council voted 7-0 unanimously to tear the building down, because it'd just be easier to start over from scratch than to try to renovate that. So 3 different times, we had a 7-0 vote to tear it down, but the building still stands. We couldn't tear it down, we couldn't renovate it, we couldn't move forward, we couldn't move out. It just seemed a little bit weird to me as to why after 10 years we can't do anything. It's not like we haven't done anything in the township. In that same amount of time, we bought and renovated the Girl Scout camp. Has a lovely facility over there that we've rented several times. I'm sure some of you have as well. We've done things. We've torn buildings down. We've put buildings up. We've renovated buildings. We've done things everywhere. It just seems like nothing ever happens at 298 Chapel Drive. And I started wondering why. It just seemed weird. Like, what is it, built on Native American Indian burial grounds or something? What's going on? That no matter what we try, we can never seem to succeed. It seems like something else might be happening. So I actually did some deeper digging. And I ran down the last guy who ever did anything at that property. That was in 1979. His name's Joe Bergen. He's a graduate of EF High School in 1974. And he graduated there and actually went to Bible college, came back and started working for Rich Niehaus Construction Company. So he was both kind of the main builder and also the first pastor of that church. I found Joe in Arizona. I talked to him for several hours. And I wanted to know, Joe, is there anything going on at that property that we should know about? Because it almost seems cursed. It's just unbelievable that we can't get anything done there. He said, no, actually the building went really smoothly. We broke ground in 1979 and we opened the church in 1979. It was a pretty smooth build. There's always issues, but nothing unusual there. I said, well, keep talking. Tell me anything you can think of about the ground or the building, because I'm trying to figure out what is going on. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. It was a miracle that we got the property. We really couldn't afford it. It was almost given to us by another church because they were going to use it, decided not to. And then we talked to the owner and he gave us more of the property. And we were very grateful for that, because we could have never done it without that. And so a group of us started gathering before there was anything done there at all, before one spade of dirt was turned over, to hold church service. We brought lawn chairs and guitars. Remember, this was 70s. That's not so weird in the 70s. Kind of everything was that year of John Denver and things. So he said we met there several times and we had church service. But the very first church service there was very special, because after we kind of went through the different service that we had, we all gathered around and we thought, this was a gift to us that we could have never gotten. It had to come from God. And so he said we had a sanctification ceremony. And I thought, aha, I think we're getting somewhere now. Now, sanctification is one of those words, it's kind of a churchy word. It sounds really scary, but it actually just means to set apart. And what this means in Christian faith is that they stood around this ground and some Christians gathered together, joined hands, and said, God, this is your land. We're giving it back to you. Set it apart for whatever you want to use it for. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. He says, that's what we did basically the very first time we stepped on that. Now, I know there are some people here who don't care for the Christian faith and don't believe it, but for those of you who do, you know there's a scripture that says, where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am in the midst. And the things which are bound on earth are bound in heaven, and the things that are loosed on earth are loosed in heaven. And I don't believe it's a coincidence that we haven't been able to do anything to that property, because all the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania tells us that we own that property free and clear and have the right title. I believe there's a higher court, and in that court, no one ever asked the real owner if it was okay that we turn a place of worship into a place of games. Now, it really doesn't matter whether you believe my theology or not. We can all agree on the numbers, and where we are right now is we're stuck. This is what's known as a quagmire. There is $650,000 in grant money attached to the property, $450,000 of it from the DCNR. I asked for copies of the grant, read through them. I talked to the people at the DCNR, and I asked them, would it be possible to sell this land? They said, absolutely not. Because you used our money to buy the land, we can't let you do that. Because otherwise, I said, look at it from our point of view, you could buy a property, you could use our money to fix it up. And then you could say, we can't do that after all, turn around and sell it for a profit. There's no way we're going to let you do that. It needs to be used for what it was intended to be used for. And so people would either have to pay $450,000 for a property that's valued at $203,000, or you're going to have to own a rec center there. That's the way it is. So we can't get out that way. What about moving forward? Well, I read through the minutes. I've also read through a bunch of the paperwork. The original plan to put soccer fields there, the last feasibility study I saw that was done was 2007, and the bid on that was like $1.5 million. Of course, that was counting some money coming in from grants, which have already been spent, so we don't have that anymore. That was 2007. Index that for inflation, it makes it about $1.8, $1.9 million today. Clearly, we don't have that kind of money. What else could we do? Well, there's been thoughts of maybe doing it in stages. The problem with doing it in stages is, for those of you who've been to the property, it's not flat, it's humped. So you can't put anything there without flattening it. And in order to do that, you have to bring dirt in. And if you've ever driven by what's going on with the drilling, which I know a lot of you have, for various reasons, but if you've ever driven by just to take a look at what they've done, and look at the infrastructure there off of Fallen Timber, Nichols Hill, and you watch what they had to build in order to be able to get the dirt out, it's basically the same thing we would have to build to get the dirt in. There's no way you can run trucks like that up Chapel Drive. It's a residential street, and it won't handle that weight. We'll have to build something probably coming up from Jane Drive on some kind of a switchback in order to get up there, and it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is why the bid was so high. Because not only do you have to build that structure, they have to build a structure to hold the dirt, and then you have to get the dirt there. Now you get to make the actual fields. In other words, to build 10 fields almost costs no more money than to build one field. And you're not going to get out of the $1.5 million there. You're just going to not. So then there's some other ideas. Maybe we could just renovate the building and turn it into a clubhouse or something like that. Well, the problem there is it's been gutted. And since it's been gutted, you don't get to grandfather anything anymore. Everything's going to be brought to code. Like a sink that you could probably get for free on Craigslist, you will now have to buy a certified, handicap access sink. It'll cost you $1,200. It's crazy. Everything just goes up. There's metal studs in there now, which means the whole thing has to be finished out in metal. Things like that. Anyway, there's been some estimates done, both by the township, and I had a contractor take a look at it as well. And the estimates I was getting was about $400,000 in order to finish it out for a clubhouse that no one's asked for yet, and we don't have the $400,000. So we're kind of stuck. We can't get out, we can't move forward, and we can't just stay like we are either, because when it sits there, it goes bad. People throw things. We've had windows broken. We've had things happening there. So what can we do? So I'm not just here to say we have a problem. I think most of us knew that we had a problem. I'm actually here for a solution, because I'm going to tell you a little bit about Spirit Chapel, a church that I'm proud to be a pastor of. We're a weird church. That's part of the reason I'm proud to be the pastor of us. And I say that knowing that a lot of us are here tonight, but we're a little weird. For one thing, no one in the church gets paid, including me. I have a full-time job outside of the church. And we also believed as a church when we started in 2013 that Elizabeth Township and the surrounding communities are our mission field. We don't support any foreign missions. We don't support any nationwide or international programs. We just keep everything very local. And not that we criticize churches that do, it's just we felt this is what we should do. And since nobody gets paid, even though we're a small church, probably about, I don't know, maybe 80 of us or so come, never once it seems, but about 80, 90 people are coming to Spirit Chapel now. Since we're a small church, we don't have a lot of money, but what we have, we've given back to the community as best we could. Now, sometimes we've actually helped out some people in the community. We actually kept a woman alive for a month while she had to wait for Medicaid to kick in to pay for her medicine when they canceled her insurance. We've helped people keep their houses and things like that. But we also do programs for the community, and we started this immediately. We didn't really have any plan for that. We just feel like the churches should be the heart and soul of the community, and the best way to do that is to lead by example. So those are screenshots of the first thing we started doing. We did these movie nights. This was the best deal in the township when they were being run, because we worked with Fox's Pizza to our left and China's Fortune restaurant to our right, and we got free food there. So you can come, I don't know if you can see that one picture, you can bring your kids, you can bring your dog, you can bring lawn chairs, whatever. And we would play a movie like a Lego movie or something for the kids, and you could eat pizza and Chinese food and free drinks. And it was all free. We never charged anything for that, and we also didn't try to make anybody converts. We weren't trying to bring anybody to Spirit Chapel. We just said, hey, this is something we think the community would enjoy. We did that for 2 years, and then other places started to do it as well. We said, cool, that's great, they can do that. We'll do something else. And so we started something called Summerfest. And we run this for the past 2 years now. It's just basically an old-fashioned community picnic. We used to have them when I was a kid. We kind of have that image of what we want to do. So we have video games. No, we don't. We have carnival games, no video games. Disc golf, we have archery stuff there. Pony rides, face painting, everything free. So I don't know if you've ever been someplace with kids who have to ride a pony and have to pay for them to ride the pony. But that's outrageously expensive what they charge for pony rides. But it's all free, and we just did it for the community. Free hot dogs, free hamburgers, everything. We've done it for the past 2 years running. We intend to keep doing that. We also did an archery club, because we said, well, there's a bunch of stuff out there for women and children, but churches never do anything for the guys. So we started a 3D archery club. Another one of the little secrets, because we cut a trail up through behind the acreage there. We're in Swiss Alpine Village, by the way, it's where we're located. So actually like 2 guys cut all that, and we worked with Elizabeth Ford Township Sportsman Club, because they had a bunch of targets that they weren't using, and we worked together and set this range up, and we had some youth programs, and we ran that for a couple of years. Now, we actually collected money from the archery range, but we ended up giving it all away to Eli. We raised, I don't know, a couple $1,000s, I think, for Eli through the archery club, because again, our whole purpose wasn't to make money in this, it was to try to somehow benefit the community. So we picked a local charity, it was Eli that time, and we were able to raise some money for him as well. And then in the fall, we started another festival. This is a music festival we call Praise Fest, where we have some local groups come and play. And we even bring in, that middle picture, there's a group called Red Letter Hymnal. They're actually a national touring group. You can hear them on the radio. They're very, very good. And we bring them in as well. And again, 100% free. And the reason it was always free was we never wanted the community to think we wanted anything out of them. We just wanted to say, hey, we just want to show you a little bit of love and kind of do some things for the community. But the point is that for the past 5 years, we have been doing recreational activities. We've just been doing it in Swiss Alpine Village. Now, it turns out that the people that we have in our church, even though it's small, are pretty talented. I have guys who are retired tradesmen, or they were tradesmen and they moved into other positions. But I got guys who can do a lot of stuff, and we have, even in our congregation right now, a licensed and bonded contractor as well, a general contractor. And so this is actually some screenshots of some rooms we recovered over at Swiss Alpine Village. It was above the Chinese restaurant. It was just basically, well, it was particle board on the floor, and it was rafters. That was it. And we said, hey, if we fix that up, can we use it? And our landlord, Dan Poor, said, sure, what am I, stupid? Go ahead and do that. So we fixed them up, and I don't know if you can't really get a good shot of it, but that's what it looks like today. It's a multimedia room, and those guys did a great job. They're really good at what they do. And so since we have the talent in order to refinish and finish buildings, and since we are a recreational-based church for the community, we were thinking, why don't we stop doing what we're doing at Swiss Alpine Village and instead do what we're doing up at Chapel Drive, the property of Chapel Drive. And that way, we could actually have recreational activities going on for the community. In fact, we could do more there because it would allow us to have kind of some permanent things set up. And we have a lot of ideas. we'd like to not only continue to do the things we're doing now, although frankly, the archery club probably wouldn't fit there. You need a lot of room to put those targets up. But we could do other things as well. We see a lot of people using the dogs, bringing dogs up. Some people are talking about a dog park. As a dog owner, it does scare me to death. But I would love to see like bring in some dog training and having a training program there on Saturdays. Maybe you could bring your dog up, obedience classes, and work with the trainer. Maybe some agility work if some people want to get advanced. Maybe we'd have a dog day where you could bring your dogs up, get vaccines, and oh, by the way, register your dog, because by law you need to. That kind of thing as well. And we'd like to do that. We'd like to do some other programs as well. We'd like to have more programs than we have now. We have the 2 festivals we'd like to add to. We'd like to add a springtime, like a strawberry festival. We'd like to add a harvest festival to kind of give kids an alternative. So they have to walk up and down the streets, trick or treat, and we can have a little hayride set up there, and they can have stations they can go to. So we have a lot of ideas that we would like to do, and we would like to do this in a way that's fair. So what we're proposing to the township is that if we can work it out in such a way that the TCNR approves, that we would lease that at fair market value and fix it up. We would do all the labor, and the township would only have to do the materials. And we could finish that building, not as a church, but as a building. The idea is just finish exactly the original drawing, a small kitchenette, 2 bathrooms, and an open floor. And we would do that and finish it up, and then we would move our recreational activities to there. So that's the idea behind it. It's a way we think that it's a win-win-win, because it should satisfy the requirements for recreation. It should satisfy the township. We should get a lot of stuff there. And in case anybody cares, it also, I believe, will take into account the person who really owns the property as well. So thank you very much.
Show of hands, anyone think that's a good idea? Anybody?
Nope.
Yeah, looks like a majority to me. Okay, hey, Pastor, thank you. And I think that if Spirit Chapel can save Chapel Drive, I think it'd probably be the best thing that ever happened in the township. So, we're gonna keep rolling with it. We're gonna go to citizens to address agenda items. First one is Russell Urbana.
Russell Urbanic, 325 High Street. Just have a couple questions about item 10, litigation against Sutersville and Sewickley Municipal Sewage Authority. Does that have to do with the sewage line going down to Eastport?
That has to do with the line that they give their residents sewage to us, which we ultimately treat, and there's an agreement in place that governs that, and they haven't been adhering to the agreement.
So it doesn't have anything to do with the permission we need from them to run that?
Now, that's Sewickley Township. Now, this is involving the residents of that authority.
So this is a different issue then?
Yes.
Yeah, they pay us about $200,000 a year to treat their sewage, and they haven't been paying the.
That's the problem, they haven't been paying.
Yeah, they haven't been paying the full amount.
I think it's
It's
simple,
a
they owe us
yeah.
money, we don't have.
Okay, so they owe us money for the sewage that we treated.
Correct.
You sent it to Eastwood, or we did.
No, we
Yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah.
did.
Yeah, we treated it.
So they owe us money.
Yes. Okay, thanks, Russ. Anyone, you're up? Go ahead, go ahead.
I was impressed by the research the pastor did, and I think that's what kind of things that should have been being done in this community for a long time. That's why I'm up here. I didn't know about that, so I was going to speak about that. And one of the things we found out is we decided, the community decided to have a comprehensive plan. I found out that there were maybe 17 people on that, and most of the people on that plan, from what I understand, they submitted a letter to accept them, and these are people that have been fighting in here all the time. And I'm suspicious that they'll get in part of this comprehensive plan, and I don't think we need 17 people, to be honest with you, but they're gonna further their agenda
to set this community backwards. I have no problems with them personally. I do have problems with their agendas, and I think that's what's gonna happen here. And one of the things that, this guy brought up, and I bring it up all the time, but I wanna correct him on one thing. Libraries are not a thing of the past. They're building them everywhere, there are great libraries everywhere, and I'd like to take them on a tour. They haven't closed the Hillman and the Barco Library or Carnegie Library, they're right next door to each other practically on Forbes Avenue. They just get more use and more use all the time. You go to all these other communities, it's like the centerpiece for little kids and older people.
And are you saying now that if somebody doesn't agree with you, we shouldn't put them on a committee?
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I'm saying, a lot of the people, I understand, that are gonna be on that committee, they're gonna use that as a Trojan horse to further their agenda. That's not what a comprehensive plan is about. A comprehensive plan is not about
Speculating about the individuals that are on that committee.
And we're
And
not.
that's not fair, and it's not right.
And we're not going to the past like they want.
Yeah,
We're going into the
we
future.
need new, fresh ideas, not old ideas for this comprehensive plan.
And why am I running?
They want to take us to the 1970s.
Exactly. And I just wanted to say, last thing I already said it, libraries are still cool, more so than they ever have been. And I'd like to talk to that individual, but set it up.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, Diane Pelota, did you sign up to speak? Okay. Awesome. Some people signed up, but that's if you want to speak. So I'll just go through it. Doreen Schwab? No? Okay. Rick Schwab? No. Wendy Breeder?
I'll take 3 minutes if they didn't want to say something.
I'll put you on. Scott Taylor? I'll put you on.
Good evening, Scott Taylor, 304 Mohawk. Start with agenda item number 5. Approve the quote to Rudy's for restoration of Boston Honor Roll. Which one? There's 2 down there.
Oh, I didn't put this on the agenda. I think Jane Blake would know she's sick tonight.
Okay, well, either way,
Yeah.
the first one, the large one, was completed last year by Howcraft. The second one, go ahead.
I know which one, it's the one right at the end of the Boston Bridge, right in between where, the auto store.
There's 2 honor rolls.
The first one right there.
The large one or the small one?
The large one up front, that they just took the grass out and had it.
That's actually smaller of the 2.
It looks larger.
The larger one was done by Howcraft last year, and the other one was just done.
By Rudex, they took out the grass because nobody could maintain the grass. So the commissioners wanted to put in a cement pad so that it looks nice. So then when they put that cement pad in, now they have, I'm taking these minutes, now they have exposed stone. And so they want to put caps on the stone.
Okay. There's actually concrete floor there, so we're saying we're gonna approve a quote for work that's already done.
No, this is additional work.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you for the clarification on that. Item 79, which one am I at here? 7, the drainage improvements on Fallen Timber Road. Where is that on Fallen Timber Road? Is that associated with the work that, in front of?
It's right by Horseshoe Bend. It's a storm sewer replacement and a drainage ditch. It was bid out and, the bids were up in last meeting.
And the township is going to be paying for this?
No, it's a cost sharing agreement that was signed, with Omni.
Okay. Because I was gonna bring that up, it was actually approved, it actually doesn't say cost sharing in the conditions. There's upgrade drainage facilities along Fallen Timber Road to manage the stormwater drainage at the site, recommended on page 303, CEC conditional use letter dated, November 7th. And if you look at that letter, it also does not say it's a cost share. It's based on their recommendations.
I don't know what you're referencing.
Hey, Kim, do you reimbursing us?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
There's an agreement in place. I don't know what you're referencing.
Oh, I'm sure there's an agreement in place, yeah. Okay, just so I'm aware of what we're talking about, where it's at. Item number 11, the 501c3 mine drainage remediation. I thought we were gonna work with Mount Watershed on this agenda, issue.
I'll tell you who's spearheading this and who wants to share it, is Rob Broderick. And he's working with the Fish and Boat Commission, and he's working with the individual from, I think, Idaho Environmental. And those three had a meeting recently, and they determined it would be the best route to keep it in control of the township. So that's why they want to set up their own 501c3.
So yours, it's the opinion of Rob and this township that we are best suited to manage mine drainage mediation
In Elizabeth Township.
in Elizabeth Township versus a group that has half a dozen of these pond structures out there and agreed to do this work
Well, it has
as
to-
a 501c3.
Well, it has to do with control.
That's my point exactly. Thank you for saying as much.
We had,
It's all about them controlling it.
Okay, Brandon Dimmick,
mine's on agenda also.
I'm just gonna take a moment.
Okay, all right.
All about control.
Brandon Newman, 701 Schaefer in Plain Hill. Now that I see how this works, I'll try to keep this brief. I just wanted to raise an issue that my wife and I, one of the boys, have experienced recently with a troublesome neighbor. We're at 701 Schaefer, there's a house across from us. It's a rental property. And we've been at our house for 6 years now, and in those 6 years, 3 families have been in that house. Unfortunately, each one has been worse than the last. Most recently with the current family, they have been there about a year now, and they frequently are drunk. Summertime, more specifically, they roll around and go outside. They don't usually start with commotion until when we're trying to get the boys to bed. But usually around 9, 10 o'clock, we'll be outside drinking, yelling, swearing. We can hear everything they're saying. And more recently, on Memorial Day, they started their festivities about 6 p.m. in the evening, and we knew it would get out of hand quickly, and it did. Same time, about 9, 10 o'clock, we're outside. This time, however, the woman that lives there was making more of a scene. It seemed like yelling back into the house from the street, so it was very public, about someone inside getting a gun, bringing a gun out, taunting someone, whoever it may have been. So at this point, we called 911. They came out a short time later. We were listening to the conversation outside they were having with the police, and nothing was done of it, which has been the case in the past. I called the police the following day to follow up, and because the call was anonymous, they couldn't check in with us that night. And unfortunately, they said because there was no crime being committed, and they didn't notice anything amiss, that they couldn't do anything. If we wanted to, next time we can press charges, we can serve as a witness court, which she said would take a day of time, day of work, and the most they might do is just give her a 90-day probationary period. So not something that we saw. We looked at the code online in terms of disorderly conduct. That doesn't seem like it's some kind of punishment on there. I think what we saw were fines and things like that. So we're just not sure of where to go from here, and we hope it can be addressed because it's a quiet street, quiet neighborhood. There's a lot of kids around, and they're a big problem.
So there's one guy in this township that I have complete confidence in will help you. His name is Chief Carestas. So if you could get the address, I have your address, 701, if you could get the address of that home to him and give him your phone number, he'll work with you pretty closely. He's really good about it.
Great.
So maybe,
Yeah.
give him your phone
I'll
number.
explain some of the things that's told you, outside of the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so grab him after the meeting's over and we'll get it situated.
That's good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Dave Baumgartner? I did.
I just wanted to ask all the commissioners here, our flagpole central fire department is in need of paint off. I just feel like the volunteer line time, if we could utilize the bucket truck at the fire station. You know, I'll volunteer to kind of operate the truck and paint the pole. Just want your permission to do that.
You wanna make a motion?
It would be this sometime this summer.
All
clarification, I'll go through Jake.
Yeah.
I just need it on a weekend to do the poll, but with the rain right now, every other day it's raining, so.
I don't know.
Now, Dawn made a motion.
Second. Better to do it this way, and that's a good.
That's the way I wanted to do it. I mean, we have a light bulb I need to change with it too, so I mean.
Question on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Fred Bickerton? You come on down.
Maybe I have a couple items on that. Bring it up. One is, I understand, I heard John say that he's issued 29 citations to the Dollar General. I'd like to know where we're going from here.
Yes, so those citations will be heard by the magistrate. There's a daily fine that goes with those. It's up to $1,000 a day. Under a violation of the Saudi law, I'm gonna ask that, the magistrate institute that full fine. I'm also preparing a formal lawsuit against Dollar General in an action to force them to comply. Can't do that through the magistrate. That has to be done before the common pleas. Also, I've had constant communication with Dollar General. They're actually having another meeting about this issue tomorrow, because they're aware of the fines and the significance of that. So I don't know if that's gonna change anything as far as the property goes, but we're doing everything that we can at this point.
My only comment on that is we should have been doing this a year ago. When the first came on.
Yeah, that is what it is. I mean, again, once I got involved in it, there was a delay, but again, it was really, if you saw the correspondence going back and forth with Dollar General, I was trying to give them, we were all trying to work together to get them to fix the problem, because that's all that mattered at that point.
I guess it took a year to.
No, not a year, it was from January, I believe, or.
No, this has been over a year. It's been over a year.
I'm talking about mine, Fred, yeah, I can just talk about mine.
And it's a safety problem. You know, safety problem, it takes us a year to fix. Or get more, or maybe fixing it. The other item I'd like to comment on is establishing a 501c to manage the acid mine drainage remediation project. Just so the township has control over it. You really have to have somebody who knows what they're doing in control. I'm sorry, but there's nobody here that has the kind of experience it takes to manage a project like that.
Oh, there's a guy over there.
He doesn't have the experience, I'll guarantee you that.
Thank you, Fred.
Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this the route we have to go to get this done down there?
It has to be under a 501c3. That's per the, yeah,
That's it, that was expanded.
it has to be in a 501c3, some 501c3.
The last one is Pastor Mark Rice. Excuse me, he's good, okay. You gonna come up?
Steve Dick, I live on Dawn Drive, right around from Chapel, 302. I love his ideas about what they would like to do with Chapel Drive and all that. This township needs revenue. So let's put something there, maybe. I love the fact that he's trying to do that. I have 2 young children. I take kids up there now. My neighbors here to vouch for me. I take kids up there and we ride go-karts all the time. And everybody says, oh, the cops are gonna get you. This guy's not gonna get me for taking 10 kids up there and enjoying ourselves, because that's what we wanna do. I love what he thinks he can do is great, but it's not revenue. It doesn't bring revenue in the township. We need something that brings revenue in here.
So
I don't have the answer, but
So part of, you heard Mr. Greg talk about the comprehensive plan. Part of that comprehensive plan is exactly that, trying to figure out and develop this township in a way to bring in revenue stream, to bring in business, to look at zoning, to try and make everything sort of fit. So it's a very important thing, it's happening right now, and it's in the process, so hopefully that's gonna be, at least give you the roadmap to doing exactly what you're
I
talking
did
about.
hear him say lease the property. I mean, you can't break the church that doesn't have a whole lot of money, so I don't know what the lease would be. If it's a 99-year lease, if they wanna take the property that way. It's a long way from that, but I'm just saying, I live right there. I mean, I watched that property. I don't know where $750,000 went. I know the parking lot got paved, and a few things got done. I wasn't aware that the building was in that bad of disarray. I think me and Tim, the guys I work with, could probably do the same thing that him and Tim, as church members, can do, because I know the plumber, I know the electrician. Andrew, if I didn't work 75 hours to give up a business, I gave up my own business for my job, for my children. I would love to help. I just, no, honestly, I wish there were more people that could. But I want revenue in the township, because I want to stay here. And I have children here, and I have to take them everywhere else to enjoy themselves. No swimming pool, no rec center, you know.
You know, my answer is, and what I ran on was that power plant. Giving the township a cashier's check for $25 million in cash.
Well,
That's
Andrew, you
my-
got the power right now, turn it into something at the township that people are gonna wanna move here.
Yep, all right, I will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on with the rest of the agenda. Resolutions, motion to approve resolution 2019-8, recognizing the Marauders Baseball Club as a civic and service association under the local option Small Game for the Chance Act. I have a motion. Question on the motion? This is the baseball group down in Blytheville. They just applied up to- yeah. Question? We do a roll call. Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Just,
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
yes. Okay, we handled motion one, now we're going to go to motion two. Motion to approve the general fund bill warrant dated June 3rd, 2019, in the amount of $167,587.66.
So moved.
I'll second it. Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve the sanitary fund bill warrant dated June 3rd, 2019, in the amount of $50,470.80.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve commissioner meeting minutes dated 5/20/19.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to approve quote provided by Rudes for restoration of Boston Honor Roll in the amount of $4,950.00.
So moved.
I'll second it. Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. I'm striking number 6 from the agenda. We're gonna move on to number 7. Motion to award Fallen Timber Drainage Improvements Project to Stash Trucking in the amount of $24,690 as per KLH's recommendation. I'm gonna make a addendum to that motion to be reimbursed from Highway and Highway. Yeah. And I'll make the motion.
Second.
Question? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. I'm striking number 8 from the agenda. On to number 9, motion to ratify approval to participate in the Shake Club Joint Police Test.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to authorize solicitor to pursue litigation against Sutersville Swickley Municipal Sewage Authority and Swickley Township.
So moved. Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion directed the solicitor to establish a 501c3 corporation for the purpose of managing the Douglas Run acid mine drainage remediation project.
So moved. Second.
Question on the motion, I'm just gonna give a little piece of information to the audience. If you ever go to Driscoll's, the restaurant down in Blytheville, you look behind it, there's that orange creek. This project is gonna remediate that orange water.
Just read it.
Yeah, it's a mess, so we're gonna take care of that. Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to accept letters of interest for 5 positions to serve on the 501c3 corporation, that is Douglas Run Acid Mine Drainage Remediation Board of Directors.
So moved.
I'll second it. Question on the motion? Roll call.
Try to find people with some background.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Commission authorized County Lake engineers to apply to the Elk River Trail for an additional 10 miles of right-of-way for completion of a sanitary line to Smithdale.
So moved.
I'll second it. Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion authorized County Lake engineers to begin design process for a sanitary line to Smithdale for the purpose of application in the Trail Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Anything else for the good of the township? Motion adjourned. Second, all those in favor? Aye.